All right, hello everybody. We're going to keep on going with Amendments 11 through 20. So this video is 11 through 20. So starting with Amendment 11. Amendment 11 designates that state courts will hear cases between citizens from different states. So as you can see, we have the cases between states. Originally, it wasn't the state governments hearing these, it was the federal, and the federal courts were getting really overwhelmed. So this amendment lightened the load for federal cases, for the federal courts, so that these different court cases of citizens from different states were then heard by the states instead. All right, moving right along. Number 12. A lot of things to click. Oops. All right, so the 12th Amendment, it changed the Electoral College and the way we vote for president and vice president. So there would be one vote for the president and one vote for the vice president. This was mainly to do with the election of 1800. So that forced this amendment because the president and vice president in the election of 1800 were from different parties, because there are more votes in the Electoral College with electorates to pick. So there you have Electoral College voting process. So fun. So the stronger influence of political parties is what drove the 12th Amendment. All right. 13, 14, and 15 all go together. So what we have here is they all have to do with what were called the Civil Rights Amendments. So it's freedom for slaves, citizenship for all African Americans, and then voting rights for Black men in America. So what I would suggest you do is to create an acronym for the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, because it's really easy to get them confused. So my acronym here is Fall Creek Valley, but that doesn't mean much to you. So you can come up with your own acronym to remember 13, 14, and 15. A little bit more detail about each of them. The 13th Amendment frees the slaves. Now, there's a major loophole in this. The loophole is that it doesn't apply if you've been convicted of a crime. That will be a major problem in years to come, and arguably still a problem to this day. However, if you are not found guilty of a crime, you cannot legally be held as a slave after the 13th Amendment, after the Civil War. So the court has ruled that juries and the draft do not fall under this as well. So you can still be drafted, you can still be forced to serve on a jury, but otherwise all involuntary servitude is prohibited under the 13th. Now, the 14th Amendment, there it goes, the 14th Amendment granted citizenship to the freed slaves. This may not seem like a huge deal on the surface. However, if they had not had the 14th Amendment, you would have had all of these then freed slaves with nowhere to live, right? If you were a slave in Alabama, and Alabama now is forced to free you under the 13th, if there wasn't a 14th Amendment, they could have just said, get lost, you're not allowed to live here. But by passing the 14th Amendment, states were forced to grant citizenship to slaves. It also applied due process to the states. So the states also had to follow those same due process laws. All right, moving right along to 15. 15 granted African American males the right to vote. C-V-O-T-E. So they had the right to vote. Obviously, this will have lots of issues after it's passed, but it is put on as the 15th Amendment, and those are, again, collectively known as the Civil War Amendments. 16th Amendment, a little too fast. The 16th Amendment created a federal income tax. So the amendment was created to raise money. Tariffs were no longer bringing in enough money, so the 16th Amendment creates that federal income tax. The 17th Amendment is the idea that senators are elected by popular vote. So previously, they were elected by state legislators, and they chose. But the amendment was passed during the populist movement, which gave people more power. And one of those instances of getting more power is that now we vote for who our senators are instead of the state legislator deciding for us. So 17 senators are elected through the use of the popular vote. Alrighty. Next one up. Oh, sorry. There's another picture of 17 senators marching. Okay. The 18th Amendment outlawed making, selling, transporting, importing, or exporting alcohol. This is known as prohibition. This was part of the temperance movement in World War I that made it so that nobody was allowed to drink alcohol legally. Obviously, they still made it, but it was against the law in doing so. So again, it outlawed making, selling, transporting, importing, or exporting alcohol. It made it all illegal to do that. So the easy way to kind of remember this one, many of you are 18 right now, and you are not allowed to legally drink. So 18, no drinking, and the 18th Amendment goes right with that. So it's a pretty nice picture right there. Alrighty, 19th Amendment gives women the right to vote. 19th Amendment grants women the right to vote. A lot of this kind of came out of the factories in World War I. During World War I, women are kind of called to go work, and then after that, it became increasingly more and more difficult to argue that they shouldn't have that right. So, 19th Amendment, women get the right to vote. Okay, the 20th Amendment, which will be the last one we do here, it changed the beginning of the presidential and congressional terms, and it's known as the Lame Duck Amendment. All right, so 20 is the Lame Duck Amendment. It changed the beginning of the presidential and congressional terms. It moved the dates from March to January for Congress, and January 20th for the president. So they decided that there was too much time for someone who lost in November to serve all the way until March, when it's kind of difficult for them to get anything done. So they moved it up, so now we have our inauguration. They take office, the president January 20th, and Congress January 3rd. So 20th, again, is known as the Lame Duck because with the election in November and they were previously not taking office till March, they decided that was too much time. There was too much time to not really get anything done. So, those are the next 10 amendments. The next video will talk about 21 through 27. Please let me know if you have any questions that I can answer for you. As well, and just make sure you're taking notes, because I will collect those notes, or you will submit them the next time we meet. Thank you.